Greetings, everyone, on this beautiful snowy day. Here we are, just who we are. And today we are going to be reading again from The Seeker's Journal, a spiritual journey by Om Prakash Gilmore. We're going to pick up where we left off on journal entry number 16. And these are actually journal entries that took place during the time of COVID, when we were really doing these deep experimentations on meditation, dream work, and various other mystical forms of understanding the universe and ourselves. We begin, as I said before, with entry 16. A large woman with red hair came to me. She was very harsh and argumentative. She said she was aligned with the idea of the wrathful deity, meaning that she would take whatever energy she picked up within a person at a very deep level and reflect it back to them. She was indeed from what we would consider the dark side. Not evil, but one who brings about fear and judgment to move human beings in the direction of transcendence. That meant that she would be angry when you were angry and peaceful when you were not. Worse than that, she would escalate the amount of anger until it abated or became intolerable. The way to work with such deities is to not be angry. Only love directed at them changes their way of thinking and being so they can change, like night and day. So I spent most of the night with this deity. She never told me her name, but she did say that she was in the lineage of the goddess Juno. She came to observe me because of the spiritual work I have been doing. The work she was speaking of was Ho'oponopono. That is what I've been doing. It has recently been reaching deep into my collective subconscious and causing me to have a new worldview. There is something changing in me as a result of doing it. A part of me that has been buried for a long time is reawakening, and I am developing the ability to forgive and love deeply again. The second thing is my attempt to cross over to a different dimension or timeline. I repeatedly do this, even though I have been told that even if and when I accomplish this, the ego will make it seem like the same timeline. My attempt, then, is to lessen the power of the ego so it won't be able to do that, and invite it in, the universal mind. We just talked most of the night until I drifted off to sleep. When I awakened, and in dreams and between dreams, if I was awake, but very lethargic, she was there. At first she was there as an angry being, but as time passed she became more loving and caring because I was becoming that way toward her. There are other things that happen that I just cannot remember. It is as if they have been wiped from my mind because I am not supposed to discuss them. The only thing I went away with from last night and the many nights I've been experimenting by trying to cross dimensions is that we are all bigger than we think, and things will work out well. The One created all beings out of the emptiness so that she could experience creation in the material world through the eyes and feedback of each and every being. As the creation and each being developed, it would grow and become a consort to the One, like the concept of Shiva and Shakti, or Yahweh and Shera. And so we are in the act of realizing our wholeness and completeness to take our place as the physical half or the physical manifestation, like yin with yang, of the One. All of the gods and goddesses are just manifestations of the One, even as we are. We are all connected in the truest sense. They exist outside of us, but everything that exists outside of us also exists within us because we are all holographic entities containing the fullness of everything in the universe. Since, in actuality, there is no time, only our limited perception of time, we are already part of the one. It is only necessary for our limited perceptions to catch up with that reality. It can happen in the future, after many lives, or it can happen now. Entry number 17. Another day working on the computer and exploring spirituality. I was still wondering about the nature of the universe, only to be told that I already know it. Even as I was speaking with this deity, I realized that she was telling the truth. I do know it. I keep pretending that I don't. I keep asking, but when I open myself, I know most of what I am seeking already. My task has become one of acceptance instead of discovery. I am called to accept what I know to be true and to accept that I know it. And I am going to do that. Many ideas have been passed on to me as I began this journey a couple of weeks ago to go as deep as I can and crack the walls that hold the dimensions apart. From what I learned last night, the key to doing anything is the imagination. One cannot move to a dimension that is totally different than the one in which one lives without the use of the imagination. If the imagination is limited by the ego, it is impossible to take the steps necessary. Therefore, it is necessary to free the imagination from the ego. This can only be done by imagining the bizarre and being willing to see what does not exist in this world. This would include blending the imagination with actual spiritual journeys to create a world not limited by the physical laws that exist here. I have heard that in my journey through my creative imagination, I am creating a safe space to meet the gods that are limited to the laws and ideals that fit in this reality. I am told that I should no longer do that. The world that I create, the sacred space, must be beyond the limits of time and space. I must be willing to let them lead and take me out of normalcy to see the unexpected and that which is undefinable. This will stretch my imagination, which will feed the ego and stretch it so I can attain my objective, which is to be able to see the universe and transverse several dimensions with my ego as a tool instead of a hindrance. The ego can be dissolved and reintegrated at will. I have discovered this through years of meditation and contemplation, and I'm able to do it. I don't write about anything that I haven't experienced firsthand. The main thing necessary to do this is having an ego that trusts that it can never be destroyed completely by knowing that it is a dynamic form of energy wound together to perform tasks in this world. I have this. The next step that I have to have is the trust in the gods to know that I will not go mad if I go too far out. This is something that I developed recently, and I plan to go forward with. This journal may end up being a great work by a sage in the future, or the work of a babbling idiot. Only time will tell. But my trust and fate are in the hands of the goddess. Journal entry number 18. There is something going on that is more dangerous than even the coronavirus, and I can't figure out what it is. There is a strange vibe in the air. The weather is strange. There are more particulate pollution particles in the air because of the many fires that were burning all over the world, destroying the lungs of the earth. The animals are more vibrant and more calm without as many human beings moving around and causing destruction because of their normal lifestyles. The rivers and lakes seem to be healing themselves without the onslaught of human-created pollution. My guides are constantly telling me not to worry because they are going to take care of me, and that there is a war happening right now that will shake the foundations of this world and change the world as we know it. I don't know what to make of it. I seem to be running into like spirits, members of my soul group in dreams, who are preparing for war. A war that I decided to enter into in a dream. It is strange because the vehicle that I took to enter into the war became an RV and then a house where I was with a few people who were just trying to survive the battle. They were trying to live under circumstances we find ourselves in today. They were shut in and trying to get enough food. Many dreams that I've had have been about food and kitchens. Most of the time in my dreams, food stands for knowledge or wisdom that nourishes the soul. It seems that my engagement in the war is to be on the ground, helping people to prepare for the worst to come instead of being on the front lines. In the dream, my brother and someone else were going to battle, and I volunteered to go with them when they had no expectation of me doing so. They let me come anyway, but we got separated, and I ended up helping those who were in need prepare and survive. My sword had disappeared. Earlier that night, I had a dream about an old neighborhood. I was ready to go to bed, and then I heard screaming. There was a big fire burning in the field across the street. I was sleeping and awakened. I ran down the stairs and grabbed a fire extinguisher that would have put the fire out quickly, but by the time I got to the field, they had already put it out with a great deal of work. I was too late for the battle when I could have easily won it. I wonder about that dream. Perhaps it is aligned with the many messages that I have been receiving. There will be no martyrs. Humans will have to take care of themselves this time. No great teachers who would have sacrificed themselves in the past, or none like that will come today. That has already happened too many times, and the humans ignored their sacrifices or changed the noble causes for which they died in something ugly, oppressive, and overbearing. They will have to put the fire out themselves. Human beings are now on their own. I'm going to read the last entry for this video. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe and hit the bell and share it with as many people as you can. This seems to be wild, I know that, and I am a skeptic about such things myself, but I think that the universe has made me experience a lot of things that I was skeptical about in order to break the shell of my ego and create humility. And if one thing has happened in my lifetime, I have become humble from my experiences. So we enter into journal entry 19. I sat on the sofa and meditated last night. I felt like doing it there for some reason instead of my usual place. I was doing Ho'oponopono to cleanse my mind and subconscious of the worries of the day. Afterwards, I sat in silence. A loud, high-pitched sound entered into my right ear. I allowed myself to relax and let the energy centers open wide as I had done many times. This has happened to me several times earlier. The sounds like that are downloads that go directly into my subconscious, bypassing the ego and planting the higher knowledge of the universe directly into the very structure of the body at a deep genetic level. These understandings slowly arise to the conscious as are needed, or when one is ready to understand them. I sat there continuing to meditate as the sound continued to come into my ear until I could hear it more at the center of my brain than in my ear. I could feel it swirling in my head the rest of the time I meditated. I sat there for almost 45 minutes with this happening. It was as if I was somewhere else I was somewhere else. I wasn't asleep, but I wasn't in my normal waking state or any waking state. I don't know where I was. The influx of the energy had somehow separated the real me from the ego. I eventually turned back to myself and went to bed only to have the same thing repeated in the middle of the night after I had awakened and had done Ho'oponopono again. I seemed to have gone somewhere else again. It had never happened to this extent before and so easily. Suddenly I heard myself say, "I'm open," as I opened my eyes and was there again, present in the room. It was all about the journey that I have been pursuing as I have been trying to cross dimensions and go to another place or parallel timeline. The spirits told me that my ego would prevent it. If my ego went there, it would quickly convert anything that I came in contact with to part of this universe. So it would totally be natural. Somehow I found a way to travel without the ego. So my journey continues. The guides promise that everything will be alright. As time passes, some of them who visit regularly no longer visit. I have heard this is the case because they have been reincorporated into my psyche or my true self as I expand in order to interact with them. The high-pitched sound continues, but it is more of a feeling than a sound. Long ago, when I did a lot of dream control, I would hear this sound. Sometimes when I heard it, there would be a severe pain in the center of my brain and I would awaken in pain. This happened several times until I learned to relax and let it happen. Eventually, I heard the sound of something releasing or hissing. Then I would feel my crown open and I would be drawn out of my body to a totally different reality for several moments where several people would be examining me to see my progress. I no longer pop out because I have expanded and am already there. While we are in our homes trying to protect ourselves from the virus sweeping the land, I'm using my time in order to make spiritual progress. I plan to go as far as possible with my impossible task of crossing dimensional boundaries. Even if I never do so in the way I imagine, I at least know that I'm coming upon several different ways of understanding the world and seeing reality. This may, in fact, be the elements or roots of crossing to parallel timelines or dimensions. I'm sure now that the fifth dimension is perception. Okay, folks, there we go. Very interesting. As I said, I'm very skeptical about everything myself, and it's hard for me to believe in half of the things that I'm talking about here in this book. And it's funny because it seems as though something has been socialized into me that makes it very difficult for me to believe in very, very extreme experiences that people have when it comes to spirituality. But my experience is it happening. It's forcing me to accept the things that I have been playing with, exploring, and denying for many, many years. I know it might be the same case with you, so I would advise you to proceed with caution in love and compassion. And I think that love and compassion will keep you safe and out of harm's way and lead you into the truth. And so, for more information, if you want to learn more about us, visit us at our website at www.nextstepcoaching.mysite.com. And you can also pick us up now. We are on podcast, and our podcast is Life on Planet Earth. We have many recordings there, and you can pick up there at any time. Wishing you the best, and stay tuned. We will be putting up another video as we continue to go through our Journal of the Seeker in the future. Namaste, everyone.